In the last lesson, we learned about saving the virtual machine state. Now, in this lesson, we'll be talking about another important feature of virtualization platforms is, let's take what if you want to share a virtual machine. Now, I created a virtual machine for my own practice, but I want my friend to also practice on the same virtual machine. So what you can do is you can share the virtual machine with your friends. And it is very simple. You actually export the virtual machine in an open virtualization archive, nothing but OVA format. It is only one single file which will be created on your operating system. Then you can share that one single file with your friends. Later on, they can import that file into VirtualBox, or it can even be used to import into VMware, and that will help you to share your VMs. Now, that is a very simple strategy in order to clone the VMs on different servers. So we will understand how to create a clone using the export and import method. So over here, I have this my CentOS machine, right? So go to File, click on Export Appliance. That means we are trying to export the machine. So my CentOS, make sure the machine is selected, click on Next. It will ask you where do you want to save the OVA file. So we will choose a completely different location. I'll choose E drive over here, VM export, and in this one, my CentOS export, right? And then click on save. So this will be by default saved in OVA format, that is Open Virtualization Archive. You can leave the format to 1.1.0. That's a decent one. Click on next. Now you can give some settings, like you can give the product URL, vendor URL, version, any license or any description you want to write. You can write it, but I am just leaving it right now. Click on export. So now VirtualBox, it will create a open virtualization file, one single file of the entire virtual machine. Now you can use the same file, distribute it to your friends, or send it to another server where you can import it into the virtualization platforms. It can be imported into VMware, it can be even imported into ESXi, because you see the extension of the file name, it is OVA, Open Virtualization Archive. So which means it is not dependent on any virtualization platform. It's an open file. So that file will be read by all the virtualization platforms. So it's not really, you can import it only into VirtualBox. You can even import it into VMware or any ESXi software. So one simple way of cloning a virtual machine is to right click and then choose the clone option. There is another way also, like the one which I'm going to perform right now. First, you take a virtual machine export, and then you can import the OVA file into VirtualBox. So that is also one more way to clone a virtual machine. I think this will take a little time. Also, why this, I mean, where in real time this concept is used is, let's take you have a lot of servers. You know what people will do? They will create VM templates. So for example, they will install Windows in one virtual machine and they will consider it as Windows template. So they will export the machine and keep it. And they'll create a Red Hat template. They'll export the machine and keep the file. They will create a CentOS template, export the machine and keep the file. Now, if they want to deploy a Windows machine, they don't really create a new machine, then once again install the Windows machine and all, nothing like that. They actually import the template and simply use it. So that's the fastest way. It saves a lot of time. So you install all the required packages in the template file or the template virtual machine, take the export. So while you're importing, you get all those packages pre-installed into the VM. You don't really need to reinstall everything. Great, so the export is completed. Now let me show you how do you import the exported file. So before I show you, let us explore the file. If you go to E drive, That is where I save the file VM export. Can you see my CentOS export? This is only one single file, and over here you can see open virtualization format archive. Eventually it is OVA file. Now this file can be distributed to anyone. You can send it to your friends, or maybe you can copy it to another server. And on the another server, or you have to ask your friend to go to file, click on import appliance. Okay, now it is asking you for the location of the OVF file. So OVF and OVA are same file. I mean to say, you can see this open virtualization format archive, but the extension comes to OVA. Earlier the extension was OVF. Okay, so even if it is OVA or OVF, it's still okay. So browse the file, go to E drive, go to VM export, my CentOS export, right? Click on open, click on next. Now over here, it will ask you the details. I mean, it will tell you that these are the by default details. And now you can see guest OS type is Red Hat, nothing but our CentOS is there. RAM is this much. You can even edit and decrease the RAM. Let's say you want to allocate only 3 GB RAM. You can specify it as 3000. And yes, so all these details will be there. Now, if you are importing a virtual machine in the same environment, let's take in the same organization, make sure you reinitialize the MAC address. If you are giving it to your friend who stays in a different location, then you don't need to reinitialize the MAC address. Okay, so if you are in the same network where both the machines, the parent machine where you have taken the export and the current machine where you are going to perform the import, I mean this machine and the parent machine should not be seeing each other. So if they are able to see, you need to reinitialize the MAC address. Otherwise, you can leave it. So because in my case, both the VMs will be residing on the same network, I have to reinitialize the MAC address. Click on import. Now, can you see it's so simple? So after the import is done, you can see a new VM will be created over here. And I think the name would be by default, again, my CentOS. The same name would be replicated over here. So there are basically two ways to perform cloning. Just right click and click on clone, or you have an export of the virtual machine which will be in OVA format, and then you can use import appliances to import the virtual machine. It's pretty simple, guys, and I would request you to try to export and import it into VMware workstation. So that way you will understand how to migrate VM from your VirtualBox to VMware.